In this video, we're going to be building the Amazon clone using ChatGPT. I hope you're excited. If you want to follow along, click the link in the description below. It's a Replit link that allows you to fork this REPL so that you could code alongside me. It is completely free, so go ahead and do that and set that up. We're also going to be adding a database to this using Replit, which allows you to set up Postgres, because otherwise, if you're trying to set up Postgres on your own, it will be a nightmare. Now, this repo that you're going to click and access, it's going to be a completely empty repository. However, it's going to have project assets for you set up there. So just go ahead, fork that, and start your project from there. So with that said, let's go. Now, this is going to be built in about 12 steps. So we're going to follow along from step 0, which is create Replit project. And we're going to move on to step 1, which is going to be create headers. We're going to do that soon. But first, we just want to see if our Replit is up and running. And it should basically say React plus Vite plus Replit. Vite is an amazing package manager. And let's go ahead and write hello here, and that should work. If any point you get lost, always remember that the link is in the description below. You could always fork that and copy the exact project that I've built. It's completely free to be able to do that on Replit. And so do take advantage of that, okay? But for now, just follow along. So I'm gonna say I wanna build an Amazon clone with React.js. Let's start with the code for the header. This should use functional components. No need to use React Router DOM for the navigation. The navigation should contain home, shop, about, and contact. Let's go ahead and see what ChatGPT spits back out at us. And it goes, here's a functional component, and it has home, shop, about, and contact link. And it's creating a header component for us, which is absolutely phenomenal. So once we have this, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go inside of my source, and I'm going to go ahead and create a header component. Components folder, put header inside of that, and then I'm going to just paste the header component that ChatGPT gave me. Now, once we go back to our main app.jsx, I'm going to change that to divs, and I'm going to go ahead and import the header component we just wrote. So let's go ahead and type in header, and let's go ahead and import our header component from components. There we go. And now we could see it. Okay, next up, what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead, and we're already at step 2. So good job. You're making really good progress so far out of this 12 steps. And now what we're going to do is we're going to style this header with inspiration from Amazon styling. So let's see how good of a job ChatGPT does in being able to do that. I think it will do a decent job. Let's see. Like, this is so cool, especially for people like me who are terrible at styling. Like, you could just get this stuff and go back and pop that in, and it just, boom, done for you. That is crazy. That is awesome. That's exciting. So for those of you guys who are afraid, don't be afraid. This is not going to replace you. It's supercharging you, right? I'm still the one driving and telling it what I need. And it says, hey, basically, once you add the styling, you'll also need to go change your main file and import CSS. So I'm going to copy this code, and I'm going to replace my header component with this new code. And then I'm going to copy the styling and paste that in. Okay. So that's what it's saying. So let's go ahead and copy that, come back to our header, and I'm going to go ahead and paste that in here. So now I have import CSS, import header CSS at the top. Remember, ChatGPT will not always give you the same stuff. So if you're writing the same exact prompts as me and you're freaking out why you're not getting the same stuff, ChatGPT will give you different stuff. It's artificial intelligence, okay? It's not like a search engine. So you're going to get different results. Your thing might look different than mine, but just you can use and follow along what I'm doing and be able to ask it the right questions and produce similar results to mine, even if you don't produce exact results to mine. If you want to get the exact results of mine, fork the Replit in the link below. Let's go ahead and components. Let's create a header.css, and we're going to go ahead and copy our CSS from ChatGPT, and I'm going to come back in here and paste that. Okay, now that I have that pasted, let's go ahead and look inside of our header.jsx, and it seems like our import. Okay, there we go. We just needed to call it header with a capital H. So there are a couple of things you'll need to figure out yourself with ChatGPT. It's not going to be doing everything. And boom, look at that. We already have a nav bar that says home, shop, about, and contact, and the styling was already done. So we didn't have to worry too much about the styling. I mean, for somebody like me, that is absolutely beautiful and wonderful news. All right, now we're going to make the header look more like Amazon styling. Okay. So it says, sure, to make the header look more like Amazon styling, you can add the following elements to the component. And now it's going to give us an example of what to add. So here we go. Okay, so it's giving us a bunch of stuff, and you can see it's using a bunch of icons as well, right? The FA shopping cart and stuff like that we're seeing right around here, right? It's using icons. And so that's great. Let's go back. And then in the styling, it's saying, hey, to resemble that, we'll need to add in a header section, a header left, a logo, search form, and search input and search button. And that's perfect because if you know, I'm sure Amazon styling is embedded in your head. If you can visualize it in your head, Amazon has all of those things there, right? So we're going to add all of these things in ours as well. If it ever ends abruptly, like how it did, you can use this term called continue, and that will just make it continue writing. So it goes, sure, here's the continuation of the CSS. So it's giving me all the CSS. Now, account dropdown, FA shopping cart, how to style it, etc., etc. So we're going to go ahead, copy that whole thing. Okay, or you could just hit copy code, whichever one. Okay, and let's go ahead and we're going to copy the styling. Let's go to header.css and we're going to paste that. And let's go down and copy that as well from nav li. And we're going to paste that as well. Okay, so now with that styling, you can already see that the margins are longer in between and the styling is starting to look a little bit better. And I'm going to ask it, hey, can we use the same background color that Amazon uses for their header? The background color for Amazon's header might change over time, but as of my knowledge, cutoff date, Amazon's header uses a dark blue color for their header. Okay, so it's also smart in letting you know, hey, I have historical data. I don't have access to real-time data, but based off of that, this was the background color that we're using. Cool, so we're going to grab that background color and we're going to replace our background color with the Amazon's background color. So let's hit it and boom, we're getting that dark blue. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is grab the updated section that it gave us. Okay, I'm going to copy that, come to header.jsx. So I just copied all the stuff that it gave us for the header and I'm bringing that over to this now. Okay, and we paste that in. So all the shopping cart icons and everything. Okay, now header.css is giving an error. So let's make sure to change that to header with a capital H. And we need to import, let's create another folder. We'll call it assets. And inside of that folder, we're going to drop in the Amazon logo. Okay, so you should go ahead and grab the Amazon logo. We'll link it in the description below, or you could just grab it from online. Just get an Amazon logo PNG, put it in your assets folder. And here we're going to say import logo. We're going to say go to assets and grab the Amazon logo.png. So now it's able to pull that, and we got the search bar and we got the search button. That is absolutely crazy. It's already looking so damn good. None of the icons are showing up, but remember, for the icons, we're going to need to import things. Okay. Now it says instead of using font awesome, because it's using font awesome currently, we're going to say, hey, can you show me how to implement the icons with the React icons? And it goes, sure, you can use React icons library to implement icons in your React applications. So it's so freaking smart, right? It even understands icons. And now it's like, okay, I'll show you how to do the same thing, but with React icons. So we can go ahead and install React icons now. And then it says, hey, just do it like this. FA shopping cart, FA bars from React icons. And that should be able to do the trick. And it's telling you exactly what you need to do in your files. Okay, so let's get past that fast. And now we're going to come back to our app. Okay. We're going to copy this. We're going to come back to our app. Okay. And let's go. And it says, and I pasted that over. I pasted that header code over this. And now we got the React icons, as you can see. FA shopping cart and FA bars. And we're just going to make sure that our logo is coming from assets, Amazon logo, and our header CSS with the capital H. Okay. Perfect. Now let's stop it and run it again. And you could see that at the bottom, it's installing React icons. Let's open up the web view. And there we go. We're starting to see the icons. And this is what's nice about Replit. Like, this is already deployed and it's already online. So you could use this as you're building, and you could also share it with anybody you want. So let's see what's happening here. Let's go to our header.jsx. Okay, everything looks like it's opening and closing correctly. So that looks good. And let's go ahead in our header CSS. And in our header, I'm just going to add display flex. And boom, just because I added display flex, you could see that it's now starting to look great. It doesn't look weird like how it was looking earlier. Now let's say, hey, make sure the navigation header left and header right fill the space in the header. Okay, so now I'm starting to give it specific instructions and massage it to give me the correct things that I want. And it goes, sure, you could use flex grow and add it to your header left, nav, and header right classes. So now it's starting to show me my header left, add flex grow, and my nav, add flex grow, and my header right, add flex grow. Okay, and let's go back to my header CSS, and I'm going to go ahead and add flex 1. And I'm going to go to my nav and add flex 1. And then we'll go to my header right and add flex 1 here. Okay, and let's look. And now the spacing is starting to look a little bit better with the count going all the way. Let's add padding of 10x to header right. And we'll add a padding of 10 pixels to the navigation. Okay, and we'll add a padding of 10 pixels to my header left. Okay. So let's go and look now. You can see that count is all the way to the right, which is good. Okay, now in my FA shopping cart, I'll add a class name. So now see, we're working alongside ChatGPT, and this is what you need to be getting better at as well. And I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to call the class menu icon, and we'll create a new class called menu icon in my header CSS, and we're going to color it white. We're going to give it a font size of 20 pixels. And boom, there you go. Now our icons are getting proper styling and proper sizing. Okay, let's create a new div and let's add them there so they're within a div. And then we'll give a div a class name of icon. So that way we can grab the icons and style that whole div better. And we'll go display flex on that. Okay, and you notice I put a gap of 10 pixels there. And you can see the icons are starting to look really good. Okay, we can see the card icon and the collapsible bars. For menu icon, we'll give it 27 pixels. And cursor pointer when you hover over it. So there we go. When you hover over, we could see it properly. Okay, so the nav bar is starting to look a lot better. Let's add a gap of 30 pixels in our header left as well. Okay, and we're going to tell it, hey, can you fix the styling of the search bar to more look like Amazon? Okay, so it goes, yeah, to fix the styling to more like Amazon, you can use the CSS to change the size, color, and properties of the search bar. And now it shows us we can align the items, we can position it relative, and it's giving us clear specifications for the search input on the width, height, border radius, etc., color. And then even what happens when we focus over on it, and what happens to the button, what happens when we hover over onto the button, what should happen. So adding all of those things. Okay, so I'm going to copy that code. We're going to go back to our app, and we're going to go to our CSS. Okay. And let's replace search form, search input, search button with what we got, everything related to the search, and paste it over that. So I'm completely overwriting everything that had to do with search. And now it's giving us a more Amazon looking search. We're going to reduce the padding a little bit because it's made it too big. So I'm going to make it 0.3 instead of 0.5. Okay, let's make it 0.2. Let's make it even a little bit smaller. Okay, now it's starting to look a little bit better, and the search is starting to look a little bit better as well. Okay, now we're going to make it so the button is inside of the search input, the right side of the search input. Okay, instead of the button being all the way outside. So it goes to make the button appear inside the right side of the search input. You could use position and right properties in CSS. So here's how we do it. Spitting it out, search button, and you could see that the search button position is absolute, whereas the other thing is relative. So now it's going to allow us to put the search button within the search bar. Okay. With this example, the search button is set to position absolute and right 0, top 0, bottom 0. We're going to copy this. We're going to come back and we're going to replace everything related to search here and paste except for the search button. Okay. The search button hover, except for that. We're going to override it over everything and paste it. And there we go. Look at that. ChatGPT is so freaking smart, right? It brought the button inside and it allowed us to make that happen. I mean, that is so freaking cool. Look at that. That is phenomenal. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and outline it to none. So there are no outlines, so it doesn't look weird. And now it's starting to look a lot better. Right? We got search. Now we're going to say, okay, add products list with products. So now we're going to move on. So we're done with styling. So we're done with step 2 out of 12. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to step 3. So step 3 is going to be creating that product list. All right. And then step 4 is going to be styling it. So let's stick to step 3 here. So add product list with products that has styling that looks like Amazon. So basically I just said, hey man, add products list with products that have styling that looks like Amazon for the Amazon clone that we're building with React.js. And he goes, sure. To add products list with styling that looks like Amazon for your Amazon clone, you can create a component that renders a list of products and apply CSS styles to match Amazon styling. So here it's mapping through and creating product list. Okay, so product list is a component that takes in the products and then it just builds them out. And this is fantastic because not only is it writing code for you, but it's writing reusable code for you in such an easy way where you could just give it an array of products here and it'll just build them all out. So if you gave it 5 products, this will build it out for 5 products. And each product, it has, image, name, price. So this is so freaking cool. This is so freaking cool. Okay. So in this example, it goes, I've created a product list component that takes in a prop called products, which is an array of product objects. And then it basically breaks down the, the nerdy stuff. Now, it's also creating the styling for this product list and what that should look like and what the product should look like and what the product image should look like. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to tell it to continue. And once it's done, we're going to start grabbing all of this and integrating it intelligently because you're noticing now you can't just copy and paste. Like a good developer who knows how to use Stack Overflow, you need to know exactly where to copy and paste. Okay. That's the key skill. So let's keep going through this. It goes, I've added styles for the product details, including the product name. Okay. So let's go ahead and grab this product list component. Let's come back in our components. We'll create a new component called product list. And inside of here, I'm going to add the product list that it gave us. Cool. Let's go back soon. Let's create another components. Let's create another component. And we'll create the styling for product list.css. And we're going to grab the styling. And we're going to pop that into our product list.css. Okay. We're going to grab more of the styling that it gave. And we're going to add that as well. So we've finished adding all of the styling. Now, we're going to go back to our app.jsx. And we're going to add in our product list component. Let's make sure to import it correctly. Product list from components / product list. And for product list, we're going to add our products. And we're going to give it our array of products. So here, let's just create a dummy array of products as well. Products. And we'll give it, it's going to be an array of objects, remember, because products have different properties, right? It could have an image and a price, description, whatnot. So let's go ahead. I'm going to call it const products. And we'll build that out in a second. We're going to say, hey, make a status product list to pass to the products list component. So it's basically just going to give us I'm sorry, I meant to say static, not stat test. So give me a static product list to pass to the product list component. Okay. And you could even pause the prompt, right? And edit it and then ask it. This is a new update that they made. You could tell it to stop generating because it was super annoying when it would just keep going. All right, so here is the dummy list of products it's giving us. So we're going to grab those products and we're going to pop that in. So it's so smart. It's giving us the ID, name, price, and image because it knows our product list component needs that. How freaking smart is this thing? Too smart. So let's go and we're going to cop all of those products, come back to our bad boy, paste it in. There we go. Now we got all our products with the images and the pricing, and the styling is showing up beautifully. I mean, of course, it could be more beautiful, but I mean, come on. This is things that for a bad front-end developer like me would take like 5 hours, 4 hours. And here we got it done in like, what, 20 minutes? Jeez. Or less, actually. Probably 5-10 minutes since the video is edited for you. All right, here we go. And now we're going to say, hey, style the product list to look more like Amazon because right now it looks like poop. It does not look good at all. I mean, it looks terrible. So we're going to tell it to make it look more, so add more detailed styling to make the product list look more like Amazon. Okay, so we're telling it to add some more detailed styling. Okay, and it goes to add more detailed styling to the product to look more like Amazon. You can adjust the CSS. So it's telling us, okay, this is what you need to be doing with the product list. And you can see grid template columns, grid gap. So that is already telling me the repeat 4 and 1. That's already telling me that there are going to be 4 columns. It's creating, that is starting to look nice, right? Each row will have 4 items. That looks more like what we need to be building. And again, I'm not a professional CSS developer or a front-end developer, but I could look at that and go, okay, that makes sense. It's moving us in the right direction. Okay. Okay. So let's go ahead and hit continue because I think it just froze there. So I'm going to say continue from the product button. And then it goes, sure, here's the continuation of the CSS. So product button, it's finishing that up. And it goes in this example, I've added grid layout to show the products in 4 column space between the products. I've also added hover effects to make the product look more like Amazon's. Wonderful. So we're going to go ahead and copy this code. We're going to go to our product list CSS and paste it in. Let's go back and let's paste that into our product list CSS as well. And boom, we got the styling and we got the updates to the component. And let's make sure to import the styling because we hadn't been using the styling at all. So it might have had already a good styling, but we won't know. And look at that. That is gorgeous. You got the images, you got border radius on the images, you got a drop shadow effect, you got a hover effect, you got descriptions and the pricing styling looking different. That is very nice. That is very nice. Now we're going to add in some of the products. So I just got a bunch of random Amazon products like the Apple Watch, you know, wireless headphones. You could grab whatever things you want. I got shoes and they're all JPEGs with like a white background kind of. And well, I'm going to go ahead into my app and I'm going to import my Apple Watch from assets Apple Watch. I'm going to go ahead and import my headphones. I'm going to go ahead and import my Nike sneakers, and I'm going to just replace the images with Nike. I'm going to replace the headphones with the headphones. I'm going to replace the Apple Watch with the Apple Watch. Here, item 3 with Apple Watch. And there we go, right? All of them are starting to show up. It looks beautiful. Height, instead of, let's see if we can make the height 200 pixels, hard-coded. That looks a little bit better, but let's make it 175. Let's play around with that a little bit. Okay, that's fine for now. Let's go back and let's add in something for item 4. Let's just add the shoes again. And beautiful. Look at that. So now we just updated the titles now as well. So we just updated the titles to wireless headphones, Nike running shoes, Apple Watch, and Nike. So do that as well and everything will look gorgeous. Okay. Now we need to move on to step 5. We're done with 4 of the steps. We just finished styling the product list. So at this point, we have created the project, we've created the header, finished the styling, created product list, styled the product list, and now we're on to step 5, which is setting up a basic Node Express backend. So let's go ahead and set that up. So I'm going to go ahead and do Amazon with ChatGPT backend. And we're going to get started. Now, here's what we need to do. So we are going to need to set up Postgres here, which is a backend database. And it's so cool how they've made it in Replit where it's all integrated. So I'm about to blow your mind with this stuff. So let's go ahead and click Postgres. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say use cycles to create DB. So use 100 cycles. Okay, go ahead and do that and set up your, it says you're paying 100 cycles, which is $1 a day. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead, so I recommend you use this. This will make your life so easy. It's also really impressive and fast. If you don't want to do it this way, then you'll have to, then Postgres can be a nightmare. Okay, so then if you're setting it up locally, do it at your own peril. Okay, you're saving about $1 a day, which is what? Just don't eat like 3 bags of chips in the month and you will have, you'll be fine. Like don't decide not to eat chips today and you could have this database up and running and learn coding. Okay, so that's what I would recommend, but it's up to you. All right, let's keep going. Let's go ahead and, all right, so let's go ahead and do const express and we're going to say require express. So let's get express set up here. So this is essentially a pern stack now, which is Postgres, Express, React, and Node. So it's like a pern app. We're going to set up a pool and we're going to say require Postgres. App is going to be it's going to be an Express app. And we're going to go ahead and say port 3001. Let's enable cores on this as well so we don't get screwed by cores. And we're going to say, hey, make sure you're using cores for the app. Okay, for the origin, we're going to say, hey, just make all origins available and usable. And we're going to add in a GET request. We're going to make it async. Okay, and we'll say that just send back hello world for now. And we're going to say, hey, listen on the following port. Just say, hey, server listening on port, whichever port you're listening on. Okay, now let's run it. And let's see what happens here. So it's installing cores, Express, and Postgres. Okay, and boom, there we go. It's saying hello world. Great, great sign. Okay, so now we need to build out a pool. And for this new pool, we're going to set the user, okay, access secret key by key as an environment variable. So we can access all of the Postgres related things from here. So we're just going to say const my secret is going to be process and PG user. So just say that and that'll be user. For host, let's go ahead and see how to get access to the host. We're just going to say process.env PG host. Okay, and then we're just going to do the following for everything else. Like for the database, we're going to say PG database, password, PG password, port, PG port. Okay, so that looks good to me so far. For SSL, we're going to say true. And that's pretty good for now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the database content. So I'm going to click that. And we're going to go ahead and check the database. So here you can even write database queries, which makes your life so easy. So type Postgres queries here to use the database. So create table products. And I'm going to create a product I'm going to create a table for products here. That's where my Nike stuff will go, my image, pricing. And this is a SQL database. So this is going to be structured. You won't be able to change it later. So you need to define your structure, stick to that structure. So we're going to have our ID is going to be an integer. It's going to be not null. So it's always going to have some value. It can't be not null. And it's going to be the primary key of how we're going to be storing this data, okay? Let's make integer capital. It doesn't really matter, but it just looks better. Okay, here we're going to say that the name, we're going to also create another field called name. So the first field is called ID. So I'm also going to teach you how to read and write Postgres and SQL here. So the line 2, one of the fields we're creating is called ID. The second field we're creating is name. Another field we'll create is going to be image. And another field we're going to create is going to be price. Now for ID, it's going to be integer. For name, that's going to be a string. So string in SQL, you could just say varchar, which is super ugly way of just saying string. Okay, and the size of it is going to be 255. And we're going to say, hey, name cannot be null. Okay, so make sure it's not null. Price is going to be float, is going to be not null. And then we're going to have image, and that's also going to be not null. So the product will need to have an image. Okay, these are all required. And now we're going to go ahead and run query. So it should create our table with the following 4 fields. All right, so we got an error. So let's remove that comma. Let's run it. Boom, query successful. And now let's look at all the contents. And we got products as a table. We clicked it and there are no rows, but the products table is made and it's available in our public schema. And you'll always be able to also take a look at your query history here, which is really nice. So I'm going to bookmark and pin this query so you can always come back and look at it later. Okay. All right. Now we're going to insert into products, and we're going to insert into products the following. Okay. ID, name, price, image, in those 4 columns. And here are the values that we're going to insert. So the first one is going to be, we're going to give it an ID of 1. It's going to be headphones. This is the price of the headphones. And here's the link to the image. And boom, we're going to pop that in. And now we're going to repeat that 4 times. There we go. So we got all of them now. Okay. Now let's run the query, and it should insert into the table these 4 items that we just created. Let's hit run query. Query successful. Okay. That's great. Let's go look at the contents, and look at that. We could see the table. Now, this is so nice how easy Replit makes it for you to be able to do this. Very, very easy, invisible, all in one place. And it tells you each field and what its type is, and then what the contents are. So we got integer, character varying, double precision, and character varying, which is just string, float, etc. Okay. Now, in our code, let's go ahead and add the following. I'm going to say get all products. And here, it's going to be an async function that we're going to write. And it's going to be, we're going to wrap it up in a try-catch block. Okay, so if there's an error, just print out the error and return the error. And here's what I want you to try. So I want you to get me the response. Okay, you're going to await the pool query. And here's the query you're going to write. You're going to select everything from products table. Okay, you're going to select everything from products table, and you're going to return the rows from that. Okay, so imagine I'm going to get back an array of items, and it's going to be 4 objects that I'm going to get back in this case, right? My squiggly drawing is horrible, but I hope that you get the point. Okay, this is my squiggly drawing, but you're going to get 4 items, and that's what it's going to return. And then we can send that over to our front end. Okay, our backend is just used to communicate with SQL, and then boom, send back the data to us. Okay, great. Okay, let's keep going. All right. Now, in line 33, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, const products, get all of the products, and here's the, and then return it as JSON. Okay, so then they're really easy to use on our front end. So we're adding that to our GET request, and you could actually see that we have been able to query all of those products from our Postgres database and return them as JSON objects. This is actually such an easy setup with Postgres. This is crazy. Usually Postgres is a nightmare compared to something like Firebase or whatnot. Now we're going to go ahead and say, hey, products from database, and set products from database. I'm going to create a state for it in our app. Okay, please edit this from this part forward. So cut out some of the last part. Don't show the front end yet. Show the front end later, please. Right now, we're going to go from the Postgres, and then we're going to go back to where we were. Okay. So basically, step 9 is now going to become step 12. And I'm going to go directly from get all product function to add to cart functionality. Okay. So at this point, you can see that we've added and we have the get all products functionality done as well with our Postgres. Whoops, hold on one second. Don't add that part. edit from sorry, edit from here. So at this point, you can see that we have the Postgres functionality. We're able to get all the products. We're able to show all of the products, right? For example, here we just ran, if we run this query right now, so I did this, I'm going to run it and boom, there we go. So now it just ran and it was able to pull all of our products, right? And it's able to show all of our products and make sure on our, we have the other Replit running as well because we have to have both of these running. So they have to be listening to each other on the ports. So this is a backend and the other one is a front end. So there we go. We already have this up and running. Things are looking good. We're able to get back the data. Now that our Postgres is set up, we're going to go back and we're going to work on the add to cart functionality now. That's where we're going to add in next. So this is what our products are looking like currently. Let's go back to our ChatGPT and we're going to work on the add to cart functionality. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT and I'm going to be like, hey, buddy, can you add an add to cart functionality, keeping track of all items a user clicks on? Okay, adding it to the cart and keep track of the total price of all items in the cart. So that is a pretty heavy query. Let's see what ChatGPT does. It goes, hey, to add an add to cart functionality, you can create a state to keep track of the items in the cart and the total price. It goes, you can then pass a callback function to the product list component that updates the cart state when the button is clicked. So explanation of what it should be doing is correct. Now let's look at the code. All right, so we got all our products. So it's going to put all the dummy products in here that it had, and then it's going to create a state for cart, and it's also creating a state for the total price. And now it's trying to do some really interesting things here. It has our add to cart function, which is going to update our cart and is going to update our total price. And it's going to pass the total price. It's going to take it in as a string and turn it into a dollar. And you can see it's replacing that with a dollar sign. And then we're working on creating a component here. So let's keep going with this. We have a product list. We pass our products to the product list component. And then we build out the cart. We loop through the cart items. And we list out the cart items and their names and their price. Okay. And then we just simply export it. Okay. So it goes, hey, in this example, I've added two state variables, cart and total price. And we're going to tell it to continue at this point. Okay. So it goes, hey, here's the continuation of this. And now it adds a lot of explanation. And now let's take a look at the code. And it's talking about local storage or session storage. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and copy this state that stuff that it did for us. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. We're going to go back to our app and I'm going to go ahead and add that in. So now we're keeping track of the state and we have add to cart function completed as well. Okay, let's go ahead and also import use state because we're importing React, but we just need to import use state. So let's go ahead and say import use state and we're going to just say from React. Okay, in the new React versions, you don't have to say import React from React. Okay, let's go back. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this add to cart and bring that in. Essentially like a prop, right? So add to cart prop. We're going to bring that in. And we're going to give it the add to cart function. Okay. And then we need to update our code on the we need to update our product list component. And we're going to say, hey, on click, I need you to run the add to cart function. So there are certain things you still have to do manually, okay? This is why AI is pretty good, but you do need to be helping it out. So I'm going to say add to cart, and then we're going to pass it the product. Okay. Let's go back to our app. So product, boom. That's where the product is coming from. Okay. Now in my app, another thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to console log cart. So let's see if we're able to retrieve our cart. And currently we have this empty bracket, so we see with nothing inside of it. But when I click it, watch this. Boom, that item is added to the cart. So look at how quickly ChatGPT was able to add this functionality. So now I click the second item. And you can see that the second item was added to the cart. Now I click the third item and you can see the third item was also added to the cart. That is mind-blowing. Okay, let's go back to ChatGPT. And now we're going to say, hey, let's display the cart in a modal that opens when you click on the cart in the header. and has Amazon-like styling. Okay, this is now getting really wild. Let's see if we could pull this off. So there we go. Here's an example. It says, here's an example of how you can do this, right? So it builds out it's rewriting some of the code we already have. So we can skip past that. Interesting parts are the show modal part that now it has written. So you could see here, it says show modal, right? Now it's going to actually start building out the modal, it seems like. So set total price is totally fine. And then now it's saying open modal. So it's giving us open modal and it's going to give us close modal as well. So we're just going to say continue from the app component. So there we go. So now it's giving us open modal. It's giving us close modal. And it's returning this, right? So open, one on click, it's going to do the open modal, and then it's going to give us close modal. And it goes here. In this example, I've created a new component called cart modal that renders the cart items and total price. I've also added open modal functions that sets the show modal state to true when the cart button in the header is clicked, and the close modal function that sets show modal. My God. So let's go ahead and give this a try. So we need to build a cart modal component. So let's go into components and let's do cart modal.jsx. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add our cart modal inside of that. So let's go ahead, pop that in there. So we got our cart modal, and let's export default our cart modal. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and grab the show modal and bring that in, and we're going to add in our show modal in here. So let's go ahead and do that. Show modal and set show modal states. We need to keep track of them. Okay. And now let's grab the open modal and close modal functions that we created and add those in here as well. So boom, there we go. We got open modal and we got close modal. Okay. So they're hard coded to be true and false right now. Now we need to add that to our div here as well. Okay. So in the header, I'm going to say the header is going to have open modal, and we're going to pass it a prop, our open modal function, and header is going to have open modal. Okay. And we're going to pass our open modal to our shopping cart icon. So when you click on the shopping cart icon, it's going to open the modal. Okay. There we go. Button on click. And now we need to add the show modal. And once it shows modal state is true, then it's going to show the total price and it's going to show the cart items. Okay, so that's why we need to create this cart modal component and pass it all of those things. Okay. Okay, so basically let's go back here and I'm going to go ahead and check out what's happening. So let's click. So now when I click on this item, it says cart modal is not defined. That's the particular error that we're getting right now. So let's go ahead and fix that and why cart modal is not defined. Are we importing it? We're not importing it. So let's go ahead and just import that. So I'm going to say import cart modal from, spelled it correctly, from components/cart modal. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And now we should be good. There we go. We got our cart modal and all that stuff popping up right here. And we got our products. Okay, and we got the total price for the products as well. Okay, so the modal is working, but it does not look very good. So we need to work on that now. So let's go ahead and let's style the cart modal to look like Amazon's cart modal. So it's doing a fantastic job so far. I mean, it already made the cart modal. So here's the styling for the modal that it's building now. So it's adding the background color, the transparency, the flow, all of that. What should it look like when you hover over the close? What should the close button look like? What should the modal content look like? All of that is coming up here. So let's go ahead and now add all of that in here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add it in. Let's import cart modal CSS and look at that. It is already looking so much better. The cart modal looks so much better. We have the close button. We could close it. We have the cart, right? Click that and boom, it just closed right away. Click it, brings it up again. And all the items it's showing them. So it's looking fantastic so far with almost not much effort. Now we're going to go ahead and add more detailed styling to the cart modal to make it look like Amazon's cart modal. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that now. So it's adding some more detailed styling. So let's go through the styling. Okay. I'm going to say continue. So it gives me all of the styling. So you can also just tell it, like, give me more detailed styling, and then it'll go into more specifications and details. Okay. And let's go ahead, copy that and paste that in here. Boom, paste that in. And it's looking decent. So total is all the way to the right-hand side. The cart modal is kind of on the left-hand side. So that's looking good. All right, so here we go. So it has given us much more detailed styling. So we're going to go ahead and copy paste that. There were certain things that it feels like it still needs to fix. So we're going to go ahead and say, hey, make the styling of the cart modal look better and more like Amazon. And so now I'm kind of digging deeper and just asking it, hey, can you help me out a little bit more? And can you spread that out? It's too close to each other. It's too uncomfortable. And it's adding some display flex, align items, justify content that I already see, which to me looks like that should kind of do the trick. But let's take a look at it. Okay, so once it gives this to us, we're going to say continue, blah, blah, blah. And now we're going to copy this whole thing. Okay, what will the component look like? Wait, hold on. What will the component look like implementing these new styles? Okay, here is an example of how the component would look like implementing. So it's even telling us here's how to add the styling to the components. Okay, so how to name the class name, how to add class names to them, right? How to basically import the styling there. What are the things that we need to update? So this is what the component will look like. So let's go ahead and copy this code. Let's go ahead and update our cart modal component. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. So that's with the brand new styling. And boom, look at that. It's already starting to look better. We have multiple dollar signs, which looks a little bit funny. So let's keep going. And let's go ahead and grab the style. And then we're going to take this style. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and paste that in. Okay. So this is the modal styling, and copy that too. Let's go ahead and paste that in. Okay. Now let's take a look at it. Now it's looking way better, even though it has $2 signs for each product, which is not the end of the world, but it looks significantly better. The image is kind of broken and they're $2 signs. So we have to fix just a few of those things. So we're going to remove our dollar sign that we were putting in our cart modal JSX. Okay. Because it seems like it has a function that's already doing that. So we can remove our dollar sign from here. Perfect. So now we have $1 sign. Now there's something happening with the image. So let's take a look at it. Cart.map item. It's not IMG. It's actually image. So we're going to go ahead and make that image, I believe. And then it should be good. So let's see. Okay, so let's take a look at the item. So let's just print out the item. So there we go. And you can see it's image, right? It's not IMG. So let's go ahead and copy that and write that item.image. And then let's take a look. And beautiful. This modal is looking so much better. I mean, this honestly looks kind of stunning. And now we're going to add a continued checkout button to the cart modal and style it to look like Amazon. So now you'll have a button that can say, hey, continue to check out, and then you can buy it from there. So let's go ahead and work on adding that checkout button now. Okay, it's adding that button. It's adding in the styling for that button. So let's just go through this fast now. We don't need to sit there and watch this. It's very boring. Let's go ahead and grab the checkout button. Okay, and let's go back to our code. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paste that button right there. Okay, all the way at the bottom, right underneath the total price. So we could see it. Look at that. Looks gorgeous. Okay. Now we got this, we got the continue to checkout button. Now these products are product 1, product 2. Let's give them actual names. So let's go Nike running shoes. For this one, let's go ahead and say wireless headphones. For this one, let's go Apple Watch, right? And for the next one, we're going to go ahead and call it Nike. Okay. And now keep in mind, guys, we are at functionality, 10 out of 12. Like we just created the cart modal, or actually 11 out of 12. So we have not only created style component, but we have not only created the cart modal, we've already styled the cart modal as well. So pretty soon we're going to be moving on to the final step, step 12, which is going to be getting the data from our backend, from our SQL database. So let's go here. Let's take a look. Okay. So far I can click the Nike button, the Apple Watch one. It looks good. All right. Now that looks a bit funny, right? 94.949999. Like what the heck is going on there? So let's just go ahead and fix that. I'm going to go ahead and just say, hey, total.price to, and we're going to say to fix to. So give me 2 decimal points essentially. So there we go. $94.95. And that should be good. Okay. Let's keep going. So honestly, at this point, the app is looking fantastic. It is pretty much done. We're pretty much good to go with the app. The only thing that is left at this point is the final step, step 12 out of 12, which is connecting our back end to our front end. Okay. So we're just going to be connecting our front end to our back end now. That's all we're doing. That's the only thing that's left. So let's go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to basically say, hey, we're going to have products from database, and then we're going to set products from database. So this is going to be a state that we're going to set here. Okay. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to get products async, and we want to use the function that we created, which hits that homepage route, right? And it gets us access to the products that we built on our backend. So we're going to do something similar here. We're just going to say, hey, response fetch. Okay, let's go look at the route that we have to hit. So in this case, that's the route that we have to hit. So we're going to copy that exact piece of URL there, Amazon with GPT backend.cleverprogrammer.replit.co or whatever. Let's go back and let's paste that in. Okay, so we're going to say go fetch that. And then I want you to get the data, await the response, and get the data from there. Okay, and then let's just console log the data. So let's see if that works. Let's go ahead and hit refresh. Refresh here. And seems like we're running into a bit of a problem. So let's create a use effect hook here. Okay, and in that use effect hook, we have the, we already have the set total price because that actually increments, right, and gives me the total price. But let's go ahead on line 56 and add in, call our get products function, because we made the function, but we never called it. So let's go ahead and make sure that we call it. Now let's refresh. So it should call it on refresh. We got some undefined stuff. So why is that? Why did we get undefined stuff here? Let's put a fire emoji next to that. And let's see what happens. Let's do response.json now instead of response.data. And boom, there you go. We're pulling this information from our back end. That is absolutely amazing. So now we know that data is pulling that information. So what we need to do is keep track of that data. So we're going to call this set products from database function and put the data in there. Okay, that should be good. Okay. And now we need to just kind of do the last thing where instead of using our static products on line 81, we're going to use our products from our database. So I'm just going to say products from database. And boom, look at that. You can see we got headphones and we got an orange t-shirt and we got Apple Watch and Nike sneaker. And all of this has the images and everything that we have on our back end. So there you have it. That is the Amazon clone. We just built it with ChatGPT. Hope it blew your mind. If you want to get the exact app I'm using, click the link in the description below, and it has that Replit link there. You can fork this exact app and play around with it and use it on your own. Of course, you'll kind of have to add in your Postgres stuff to make it your own, and then you should be good to go. But there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a lot out of it and that it was fun, informational. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.